stand. Why is this one like that? See the one that's supposed to be. That one carry herself each day. Let me guys see what she just show you all the pictures.
Please, she's there now. We can do something here.
Who is represented by his brother, the Deputy Governor of our darling states, Engineer Kadri Obafemi Hamza. Please embrace this. Thank you very much. Mr. Governor of the Center of Excellence
Real Estate Marketplace Conference and Exhibitions. Permit me to specially welcome my boss, our amiable Governor, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, ably represented by the Deputy Governor, Mr. Kadri Obafemi Hamza. Thank you for coming, sir. Members of the Executive Council, my brother, the Commissioner for Housing, body of permanent secretaries, captains of industries, members of professional bodies in the build sector, stakeholders in real estate business, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and not forgetting the members of the Fourth Estate of the realm. Thank you all for being here. The real estate sector has been plagued with risks and losses, which have been critical issues for those in the sector. The globalization and transparency on business transactions in real estate markets has demanded from international standard of any investments, necessitated the need for the involvement of government in regulating the real estate sector. This year's edition adopts a town hall meeting on the Lagos real estate emerging markets, mitigating potential risks. My first experience as a special advisor to the Lagos State Governor on housing. On assumption of duty on the 27th of August 2019, I was surprised to see about 262 accommodation seekers with placards at the Lagos State House of Assembly, protesting against a particular fraudulent property developer who had collected rental money from all the protesters for only 15 units of studio rooms in Alakpere, Ketu area of Lagos. Another related development was at the Golden Park Estate in Shangotedo, Aja, where 140 people paid for 16 rented flats to property developers. These are only a few of the reported cases among the several others that we have intervened. The impression that the real estate industry is becoming unethically high, and this is seriously contributing to fraudulent proliferation in the real estate market, which is having a negative impact on the reputation of individuals and organizations, including the regulating agencies of the state government. This development calls for appropriate regulation, implementation and enforcement of real estate laws in order to restore sanity into the sector and instill public confidence in the real estate profession. And it explains why the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority is mandated to regulate and register those individuals and organizations and keep a database of practitioners in the industry. Lagos State government is determined to ensure sanity is restored in the state's real estate environment with the review of the Lagos State Agency Law on Monday, 7th of February 2022, to protect investors, investees, against any potential risk and also prosecute individuals and organizations who are involved in fraudulent activities in the sector. As a matter of fact, if the regulations and policies of the state government are not effectively regulated with the proper law, such as the LARSERA Law 2020, Mortgage Insurance Policy Law and Land Matters Law, which guarantees safeguard and protect those individuals involved whenever there is a business transaction in the case of disasters and construction projects, acquisition, sales, rental, or residential commercial purposes, the sector will continue to have records of losses of money, investment opportunities, and eventually loss of lives. I must mention that as of today, we have a total of 1,584 enrollees on the LARSERA registration portal. Of these, we have a measly 203 fully registered applicants from inception till now. This number shows that the fully registered ones with permits to practice and do real estate business is just a fraction of what it is supposed to be. Although this figure may not be commensurate with the total number of practitioners we have here in Lagos State, but it shows that LARSERA is ready and is on the path of correcting anomalies in this sector. I hereby appeal to this large audience that who are yet to complete their application processes to do so. One major potential risk involving the real estate market is identifying the real estate stakeholders in this market. And in doing this, there must be a watcher to effectively monitor activities of operations towards the development of the sector. As an integral part of the real estate environment, government regulations must address the ethical standards of potential risk in terms of losses for the protection of citizenry's investment. As professional stakeholders in the real estate sector, I believe that this market must be rebuilt so that investors and investees' confidence can be restored, and to ensure that the state government's vision of making Lagos a 21st century economy conforms with and to international best practices. Let us be informed that the reviewed Lagos State Mortgage and Property Law is also at the Lagos State House of Assembly, and this would safeguard development of the real estate sector as well in Lagos State, and will promote local and international investors' confidence with regard to integrity in the industry and the potential risk. The risk of losses in the sector can be curbed if the individuals and the organizations that are operating in the real estate sector register with the state government, and for us to curb fraudulent practices in the sector. On this note, I'd like to welcome you all once again to the 3rd Lagos State Real Estate Marketplace and Conference and Exhibitions. Thank you all for listening, and God bless you.
Ladies,
my name is Ronke Idowu, and I'm the creative head of Revolution Plus Property, known for affordable housing. This video will do much of the talking. Let's just sit back and enjoy the video.
engineer, can we have audio?
Thank you.
The Revolution Plus Property video doesn't have an audio. Can we please have an audio and restart the video?
It's Ronke Idowu, like I said earlier. I'm head of the creative team of Revolution Plus Property, known for affordable housing. In this video, our GMD CEO, Dr. Bamidele Onolaja, spoke about the core values of Revolution Plus Property, which is number 1, innovation. We are known for innovation in the real estate sector. We have various packages just for Nigerians to enjoy affordable housing. Recently, we did our Purple Friday, where we did price slash, and we sold landed property for as low as 650,000 naira. just because we are eager to bridge the housing deficit in Nigeria. So talk about innovation, talk about affordable housing, talk about Revolution Plus property. So recently we did the Purple Friday. We are currently running our Christmas promo where we have landed properties in various prices and they come with gifts. So the mission is to provide affordable housing to Nigerians. Revolution Plus has been in existence for over 8 years. And for the period of 8 years, we have provided, we have made over 9,500 landlords in Nigeria. Let's give us a round of applause. Over 9,500 landlords. We have mega housing projects across Nigeria. We have housing projects in Lagos, in Ibejuleki, in Aja. In Ogun State, we have housing projects. In Ibejuleki, we have housing projects. In Ogun State, Abeokuta, Ibadan, Abuja, Port Harcourt, you will see Revolution Plus there, providing affordable housing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, the GM LARSERA, and all the heads of our startups present. My name is Dr. Kennedy Okonkwo. I'm the founder and group managing director of the Victoria Crest Homes, Nigeria's leading real estate development company. We have developed over 3,000 units, and presently we're doing a series of housing units comprising a total of 1,167 units in different parts of Lagos, especially on the Lekki-Aja axis. We have our premier product known as the Victoria Crest service, that we have the Victoria Nest 3, which comprises 68 units on the new regional road. We have the Victoria Bay Annex 2 on Orchard Road, which has 58 units. We have the Victoria Crest 4 Waterview Experience that has 130 units. We have the Victoria Crest 5 on the new regional road, which has 207 units. We have our project known as the Victoria Bay 3 Annex, which has 48 units, and we also have our newest service that we call the Citadel View Estate. The Citadel View is Nigeria's first solar city, and we started this project July last year when we launched the first 186 units, and we handed over to their respective subscribers just about a month ago. We developed a total of 186 units at the phase 1. The phase 2, which we have just started, has 172 units. And then we have the Citadel Views 2.0 on the Abramadesonya Road that has 306 units. The beauty of the Citadel Views estate is that we are keyed into the plans of the state government in opening up estates along the Lekki-Aja axis after the Aja Bridge. And so the Citadel View series marks our first series of projects going from that area. Now this estate is powered by solar. Most of the houses have, all the houses have individual solar units installed on their roofs. So daytime light, they are dependent on off-grid solutions. So that way, the people who live there have reduced expense on their power and energy utilization. The estate is designed in such a way that the major component that takes power is the water plant, because of the number of machines that are there running the power plant. It's a well-run estate, and one of our facility management divisions runs that estate. For us as a company, we believe that the future is sustainable living. Everybody will not live in the center of Lekki. And as the state government is expanding the road, we have keyed into that vision to go and open up development in those areas. We also have our site and service scheme known as the Capital Gardens Estate, just on the Lekki-Epe Express Road by the place called Idera. I'm very proud of what the government is doing in trying to regulate the industry, because for us, we believe so much that there are lots of audio developers out there taking money from people, especially Nigerians in diaspora, who have not seen what they are doing, and they are parting with money. And with such, they begin to cast aspersion on the credibility of the players in the industry. And for us as an organization, we believe that it's key that every participant playing in the industry should be accredited by LARSERA, because if LARSERA is doing its duties well, the cases of landlords collecting rent from 206 tenants and their lives will become a thing of the past. I'm also using this opportunity to charge the different government agencies responsible for working in the built environment to ensure that steel is standardized in the industry. A situation whereby companies that sell steel that are below the gauge that is required. Where they write 12 mm, when you go and check it, it's actually not 12 mm. We feel that the government also has a role in playing to ensure that this is looked into, to ensure that we have less cases of building collapse in our environment. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Yeah, no, town planner, because construction work should start with town planning. So please enlighten us on stemming the tide of building collapse in Lagos. Thank you.
Thank you, moderator. Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Well, I would say that construction starts with conception, the conception of ideas. And that's why buildings or structures go beyond just the physical things we see. So when we talk about building collapse, it's not actually the building that has collapsed. Yes, in reality we have buildings that have collapsed, but dreams have collapsed, ambitions have collapsed, projections have collapsed. And to stem this actually starts from the beginning, because my experience, both in the position of a regulator years ago and in the position of chairman tribunal of inquiry, is that we haven't paid attention to what Stephen Covey said in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He said we should put people before things. People before things. So anything we're going to discuss, whether it's about the technology, whether it's about the buildings that are collapsing, should actually start with the value that is placed on the human beings going to make use of those things. And I think we must all agree that over time, our values have dwindled. We have shown less concern. You know, people are concerned more about the gains they will make from their investments rather than the benefits that will come for investing, the benefits that will come to humanity. And I think we have also where people do not realize that this is my limit, and then I invite the next professional to go about his own duty. So the construction industry actually requires a collaboration of many professionals, more than even what the APBN sees. The APBN lists about, there used to be 7, but there are now 8. But I tell people that there are more professionals in the construction industry than those 8. There are the financiers, there are the accountants, there are the ICT people, because we're not talking of smart city system. So I believe that it's our inability to properly conceive and think through the projects that is responsible for collapses, and we have to rediscover this in order to do things right.
Going to safety, I think LABCA should go first. Between LABCA and material testing, I think they are kind of intertwined, but LABCA, please go ahead.
Good afternoon. All protocol duly observed. Like the MC said, I'm supposed to be the best friends of all developers. But at the end of the day, I'm not. And it's very simple. We are talking about building collapse. The number one problem which most of us failed to recognize is the attitude problem. An attitude problem comes in different ways. The attitude of an average developer not wanting to do the right thing by getting the appropriate approval. Attitude of the developer getting an approval for 3 floors, decided on site to go 7th floor. The attitude of developer. We've seen so many pictorial landscape view. When they want to start construction, an average developer wants to erect. It's after constructing the building, that is when you now talk of doing the infrastructure, the drainage, and that goes to each and every individual. And at the end of the day, the developer will not take the normal existing road level. So by the time development comes into that environment, some of the buildings went about this demolishing a couple of months back. Most of them are due to negligence of people doing the right thing. And the Lagos State government brought out the best solution. And that's why building control is in place. And that if you want to build, the number one thing you need to do is get your building plan approval. Once you get your building plan approval, you request for authorization. And the reason why they ask you to request for authorization is this. It doesn't mean that if you get your approval today, you have the money to start almost immediately. So some take a couple of months. But it goes on you to write to Lagos State Building Control that you want to commence at any point in time you want to do that. Then while doing that, there are some documents that is expected of you to submit. But most of these documents, most developers used to have third party, and things that they are supposed to do, they don't do it. We are talking about you having an insurance. I'll tell you this morning, something very terrible just happened this morning. A construction going on about 6-7 story building, and an object dropped on the 3rd or 4th floor to the neighboring site, and the thing hit somebody on the head and the person died. Just this morning. And what are we supposed to do? It's safety we are talking about. Apart from safety, there are a lot that insurance is supposed to do about it. When we at Lagos State Building Control tell you that it doesn't have to be 3-story building or 2-story building that you need to get an insurance on. There are procedures for it. You have contractors working on site that one way or the other things happen and they need to be treated and need to get the benefit. That is why the Lagos State government enforced the issue of insurance on any of the construction work going on. Then when you have that, another document that is required of you, that is when you can move to site. Lagos State Building Control Office is filled with professionals, from geologists to engineers, architects, all professionals are there. The geologists are there to ensure the proper use of the soil test and to know that the soil test that is given to you from the material testing laboratory is adequate. I'll put it to some of the people that are seated here. They doctored this report that we are talking about. And at the end of the day, an engineer built on a doctored soil test. Then we are saying that we are not going to have building collapse. Why do we have to doctor? There are so many buildings that are there that are supposed to be off, but the only thing they do is they doctor the test. The material testing laboratory will do the right thing, they will change it and send it in. And when we find out that these are the things that they have done, they start writing unnecessary petitions. Apart from that, the state-to-state activities of LARSERA, once you start your construction, we have the officers that come to site to check. Like I said, Lagos State Building Control is a checkmating office. We are there to checkmate, to make sure that the contractor, the owner of the property, puts on site is doing the right thing. Definitely it's not building control that did the design, or we are the ones that are doing the construction. But it was on us to make sure that the developer or the person constructing is doing the right thing. And to put it to note, that's why we have what they call the instruction on site for each and every officer that comes from Lagos State Building Control to sign on. But you find out that 60-70% build, they don't build according to what they give approval for. You see somebody getting an approval for 10 units because of profit, they decided to increase it. It's not about the building. Where comes the parking? We are not talking about even collapse. There are things that are more even dangerous than collapse. Somebody is in a property and an incident happened. You cannot think of taking the person out of the estate on an emergency because people have already parked and blocked the access. And these are the reasons that we say that follow the approval principle, follow what you are giving so that we have a good environment. Then there comes to people doing additional floors. You have 2 floors already. The person that did design is not the person doing the additional floor. The Lagos State Building Control tell you to go and do all the necessary tests. And you find out that the foundation that is used for ground and first floor, you can't use it for 4th floor, for 5 and 6th floor. And I remember this statement that we used to say when we were in school, that once you have a round foundation can take 7-story building. Yes, but it has dimension. You cannot have a thin round foundation and you want to go 7th floor. So there is specification, and that is why we have the professional. And if we want to stop this issue of building collapse, we need to engage professionals. It's cheaper for you to go with the professionals. And once that is done, we have a good, livable environment. Thank you.
I think it's very easy to stem, this building collapse in Lagos. And firstly, like I will agree with my boss who spoke earlier. Firstly, Taflana Toya, for you to build, there is something called conceptualism. And even when you have your concept, the first thing you need to do, where do I locate this concept? Now, you have decided you will locate it either on the mainland or the island that has different terrain and different soil strata. So the first thing you need to do is to carry out a soil test to determine whether the bearing capacity of that soil can withstand the number of floors you need to site on it. And the test you will carry out on the mainland is different from the one you will carry out on the island, because Lagos Island has a high water table and with a high sea level, and it's still rising. But we formed an habit in Lagos. The fact that Mr. A built and I bought my land beside Mr. A. So, of course, it is adjudged that the land is good. Whereas no patch, maybe a fossil ground, maybe an abandoned dump site. So the kind of foundation you are going to site is different from what Mr. A has cited. And in addition to that, a lot of research, they've done a lot, but there has been over 492 collapses in Nigeria, leading to over 1,000 deaths, of which Lagos State has 295. That's approximately 65 or 64%. So we have serious problem in Lagos, and that's why you see all these agencies. We won't make it the business of the day, because the lives of people, is so precious. Notwithstanding that Mr. Governor's zero tolerance on building collapse, but we still believe we need to do the right thing. And what leads to this is just simply unprofessionalism and non-credibility. They know what to do, but they fail to do it for so many reasons. One, they want to cut corners. Two, construction materials are expensive. Three, the engineer on site has just given birth to a baby boy that has been looking for 10 years, and he needs to make extra money apart from his salary. So these are reasons why we have all these collapses. And when you look at it, there are 6 major reasons why building collapse. 1, you are talking about faulty foundation. 2, you are talking about weak construction. 3, lack of carrying out tests on the strength of the material you want to use. You are talking about, corrosion. You are talking about natural disaster, and so on and so forth. So why the government established Lagos State Material Testing is to stem failure in buildings in Lagos State. And you can say that proud to the establishment of this agency in 2006. So what has happened? And anyway I do this, I always say it, building will still be collapsing in Lagos because a lot of the buildings that were built pre the establishment of this agency, who tested them? Nobody, except the likes of Julius Baja, Kappa and El Zapato, that knows that their name will be at stake if they don't do the right thing. But averagely, an indigenous contractor would always want to look for the fastest way because maybe he went to borrow money, he needs to quickly rush the house, not minding the people that will live there. And what the government has done to cut that, we are changing the law to address the current realities on ground. Once that law becomes operational, and we've been working with Ministry of Physical Planning, and I want to use this opportunity to thank Honorable Commissioner for Physical Planning. My brother has been making sure a note of warning. All developers, builders, constructors, you cannot escape us. You used to escape us. If material testing doesn't catch you, my brother safety will catch you. If safety doesn't catch you, my brother LAPA will catch you. If LAPA doesn't catch you, LASPA will catch you. If LASPA doesn't catch you, physical planning will catch you. Even when you become operational, LARSERA will catch you. So I would strongly suggest it's good to do the right thing so you don't waste money. And the government of Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu has invested heavily, over hundreds of millions, into material testing. We have state-of-the-art equipment. That's why we are one of the exhibitors. You can come to our stand. We will tell you what you need to do when you want to start, your construction, and we'll take you through the process. And don't say because you did not carry out the requisite test. There is a test called non-destructive test. After you have finished your building, call us. We will come and bid for you to guarantee the strength of those structural elements so that people can sleep. In fact, the way we want to change the law, the owners or the potential buyers must request for non-destructive tests from the prospective builders that without this test, I'm not going to move into your house. And I think that's why we are going on.
Lagos State Building Control, we are involved in all the stages. After completion, there is a certificate of fitness for habitation that Lagos State Building Control issue out. And that certificate of fitness still stands as a surety that you can even use as collateral in bank. And for those that building control, that we are never involved in the construction from the beginning. That's why we send them to material testing to go and do all the necessary tests, including what the GM have said. So once all the tests are available, Lagos State Building Control will issue certificate of fitness for habitation, and which we are saying that most of the people building are supposed, is a must that they should get it after completion.
Thank you. So, seeking to get in Lagos, there must be a certificate of fitness for habitation. If you do not get that certificate, please do not move into that house. Thank you. So from the...
I think I will stand on the existing protocol as well. I like your question, but before I answer your question, I'm basically going to comment on what my other colleagues have talked about. And it has to do with building collapse. We fortunately have some sites in the UK where we also work. I'm sure a lot of people know what Megamont has done. We did Nice State, Lekki County Homes, and of course, and a few other estates here in Ikoyi and Lekki Phase 1. But I'm trying to share my experience with you. I mean, concerning how they've been able to stem that in the UK, because it's of course very rare for you to hear of a building collapse in the UK. And I then tend to look at the system they've adopted vis-a-vis the system that we are adopting. It's very nice that we have quite a lot of regulators in our industry. But what the UK have done that is unique, which I see is working for them, is the fact that they have what you call a National Housing Building Council. This council is the cornerstone of their regulation. It is self-regulating, it is not government-owned, it is actually owned by all the professionals that have stake in the building industry. It is run by a council of architects, builders, structural engineers, quantity surveyors. They have a structure by which they run this entity. What this entity does is that it is responsible for the certification of every single house that you see in the UK. And the way it works is this. When you want to build a house, you go to them and say you want to build this house. They have what you call, they have certain insurance products that they give you. Without this insurance, nobody will give you a mortgage on that house, and the banks will not finance that house, and nobody can buy that house. You can imagine how that works. It's just an invisible hand of government without any government help. It works for them very, very perfectly. Because, of course, if you want to get a mortgage on the property in the UK today, the first things first they ask you is this certification. It's a 10-year tenure. For the first 10 years, they are there to guarantee the structure of the property. That is to say, if anything happens to that property in the first 10 years, they are responsible for anything that happens. And what that means is that they will make sure that they supervise every stage of construction. Otherwise, if anything goes wrong, they will pay for it. Not only do they pay for the physical structures, they will pay if there's any death, they will pay if there's any accident, and it's a lot of money. You can understand why they will make sure that they follow every single stage. And the good thing about it is that they use the private sector to do their certification. So it takes away all the burden of government. I mean, and the government is not going to lose any money because, of course, there's a way they share this revenue that they get from government. It's the builders that actually pay for all of this, but a portion of it goes to the council that is responsible for that building in that locality. So basically, it's a win-win for everybody. Government is not paying anything. When we even talk about material certifications and material testing, that happens automatically because, of course, there is no way you're going to get a certification if the quality of your materials are not all right, because they're going to make sure that happens. The point I'm trying to make is that all of this, including safety, if you're building more than 2 units of houses, you must employ a safety officer. They are professionals on their own. They're not government employed. They're individuals, they're independent contractors. But it's by law, if you're building more than 2 houses, you must engage somebody who is a safety officer to come to your site, to regulate your site. The thing about them is that they work as an independent contractor, and they're responsible to the state, not necessarily the government. They report to the state. I'm sure you understand what I mean. They report to the state, in which case they have the authority to come and shut down your site on their own, because they're practitioners, and say, look, there's a problem here, this site has to shut down. They're not only on sites, they're in malls, public places, they all have safety officers. So the point I make is that if we want to stem the issue of this public collapse, we must get the private sector involved. Lagos to reduce considerably documentations. I mean, because when we look at, sometimes when you go to Nairobi, you go to Kenya, look at their skylines, you see several high-rises. If you go to, Nairobi has just tourism, and maybe what else do they really have? They sell tea and they have tourism. If you go to their skyline compared to Lagos, you'll be amazed. They have high-rises all over the place. we need to be prompt, we need to be quick, because development has changed. It's a serious business. And because it's a serious business, government must take it seriously, and developers must be given, the pride of place that they require, because quite a few of these regulators see us as the enemies. We're not your enemy. We are here to make sure that we're the largest employer of labor. I'm sure you know that. Not only are we the largest employer of labor, we contribute more to our GDP than any other sector for obvious reasons. So we need a pride of place. We need to be given special considerations, and we need to reduce the time and the bureaucracy it takes to get the builder going. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The entire build sector to meet with government and address these issues. You spoke on the issue of certifications. I believe from my background that government has to play a role in this. From the little that I've seen in LARSERA, we have, when I call a meeting of estate agents, or I'm not going to bring in estate surveyors and valuers, but estate agents, there's like 8 to 10 different associations. So to actually even come together as one body to decide on what exactly should be done in the industry is an issue. And that is why government can't abdicate that responsibility. Yes, I understand that being professionals in different areas in that same sector, you can actually come together and self-regulate. That is something that can be considered and I think should be done. But government must still play the role of government. When anything happens, like I said in my speech, the first thing they do is carry a placard. Mr. Sanwo-Olu, help us. Somebody has defrauded me. They don't come to National Institute of Architects. They don't go to NIES. They come to the Lagos State government, because as far as the people are concerned, government is supposed to protect their lives and property. They see themselves as victims, and they see you as the strong man. But I think Labka has something to say before we go to safety, because you also spoke on the issue of safety.
Time they got into their vehicles. It was strange because it wasn't part of the Nigerian culture to wear a seatbelt. But today, even the bus drivers, the danfo drivers, they wear a seatbelt without thinking, because it has become part and parcel of them. So we need to think of safety as a culture such that we can protect the lives of people that are working for us. There are a number of things that we also need to think about that cause accidents. One is rushing. We're in a city, over 22, 23 million people. Unfortunately, we have got the smallest land mass as well. So buildings are going up. And every time a building goes an additional floor, there's an additional risk in terms of safety. You'll have more risk in terms of people falling from heights, control of substances, hazards to health, cranes and the likes. So we need to ensure that by the time you're doing your plan, you need to leave enough space to ensure that your project covers a decent time frame. You don't be under pressure from clients to say, I want this house completed in 6 months. And then you start to rush it. In the process of rushing, an accident is likely going to happen. Another is frustration. Again, we understand the peculiarities of where we live and where we work. People tend to get frustrated a lot. And you get a lot of demands, again, from clients, very tough deadlines. Once they start to frustrate you as the builder, as the developer, please take it easy, take time, readjust the program of work. The other is complacency. This is how we've been doing it. This is how we'll always be doing it. Yes, because you've been doing it this way, you've not had an accident, does not mean that you will not have an accident. We tend to go around a lot of sites, we donate PPE. People don't wear them. They don't wear them. They believe if there's an accident, they're not going to be injured. Some believe in local charms that if they fall, they'll disappear and they will not affect them. But these things do not work. So we need to also realize that we have to do things the right way. We can't continue to stay complacent, because when that accident happens, we don't know. It could be your friend, it could be a relative, it could be somebody that you know that is now in the hospital. So for us, the Safety Commission will continue to go around. We work closely with the other agencies within the sector, ensuring safety standards, ensuring that we put safety at the fore before we start the physical activities. Risk assessments have to be done, a permit to work system has to be in place, a job safety analysis has to be carried out. A construction site is very hazardous. There's so many synchronized operations going on at the same time. And what we're also asking is that ensure that you get your safety compliance certificate before you start. And more important, health and safety officer on site that carries out toolbox talks daily before operations start. Because through these toolbox talks, the artisans, the engineers, they know exactly what they're meant to do and what they're not meant to do.
Thank you very much. We need to go.
Everything that could go wrong went wrong on Gerard Road. Everything that could go wrong. There was nothing in place. The display board, the project board that should have shown, or that was purported to be showing the professionals, the architects, the structural engineers, mechanical, electrical, all of them had the telephone number leading only to the developer. And it's also interesting to know that even the architects were students. They were not qualified. But they got someone who was registered to be ready to sign, which is what I say about the value we have placed on man. So there was no insurance, there was no supervision. The building collapsed before it was built. That's the truth. And I think there was a video that was viral when the developer was saying that he didn't need professionals because professionals make projects more expensive. And I say that when people say professionals say make projects more expensive, it's like comparing education and ignorance. So if you say education is expensive, try ignorance.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you for that insight. So, thank you very much.
Okay. I will go and make sure that I will keep in front of the teams assembly. Mr. Deputy Governor, please join us. Thank you very much. Photographers, are you okay?
Yeah, we are.
Once again, congratulations for all of us spending this 1 or 2 day wonderful time here to listen to the best idea, advice, and the guideline for Nigeria, Lagos real estate development. Real estate development, it is another mind-blowing for Nigeria to do. We say we are looking for non-oil sector economic development. From the experience we borrow, from what we see, the fast growing in the last 40 years in China, the two major industries are building the huge contribution to the GDP growth. One is automobile industry. Another one, that's real estate industries. Real estate industry are connecting over 500 different industries. It can immediately to produce over millions different jobs. And more important, compared with other industry, at least more than 60% in this industry, you can local produce. You don't really depend on so much on imports. So I must congratulate to the Honorable SA and also the Commissioner, all your effort to develop the good example, the good manage in Lagos to showcase. If Lagos can successful to develop real estate, we must have the confidence to build our another next level of economic for this country. To come out from the luxury and pandemic times. Everybody is suffering. But the people who are still staying here, you are the winner. You are the person still carrying the encouragement to still stay with the country, to still stay with the economy, to still stay with the people to make the country better and better. So we, as an international organization, we do the business here, we bring the investment here. At the same time, we also try to bring the more employment here. By the way, we produce more training opportunity and skill at the once transfer to the industry, to the country. Why just now I wait for the video? Because in this year, we have launched 2 major projects. The first project we launched there, everybody know, I'm also the marketer for GAC Motor. So I forgot to introduce. This year, we launched 1,000 backlight project across the country, across the states. When let the Nigerians, the first time to enjoy the fresh new car driving, hiding on the road. The second project we launched in August there, we launched this Green Coolman project. With this Green Coolman project, we are ambition to empower over 100,000 Nigerian youth and technicians into the world-class standards from this platform. So those technicians you are seeing on the screen, they are the first and second batch of the technicians. They pay for their school fee and they come to take the 2-day training and they get all these certificates and they get the job immediately online. And they are promised to be paid within 2 weeks. All the jobs they are getting online. Green as #1 brand air conditioner in the world. One of the air conditioner was produced by Green China. We are the marketer for Green in Nigeria. We are making the promise. We are giving 3 years warranty for all the air users.
EGIS is because quite a number of people really do not understand when you say EGIS. Some people think it's electronic geographic information system, but it's actually enterprise geographic information system. You know, the major partners on this project is the Lands Bureau and the Office of Surveyor General. So what we're doing with the EGIS project is to map all the land in Lagos, you know, because for you to have a computerized land cadastre, all land must be mapped and surveyed. And thereafter, we can implement or install administrative systems for land administration, which is where the Lands Bureau come in. So the mapping and the survey and everything is done for the Lands Bureau. So Lands Bureau will operationalize the system. But the question you asked specifically is on LARSERA. So how does the EGIS project benefit LARSERA? Currently in Lagos, we have about 625,000 properties on the land use database. However, with the EGIS project, with the ongoing mapping, we're going to increase this from 625,000 to about 5 million. And then we'll have all information about every single parcel of land in Lagos State, you know, at the Lands Bureau on the system, which we're using the Momentum system. So with LARSERA, trying to register real estate transactions. So what is a real estate transaction? You know, I think I should define this a little bit, because at the Lands Bureau you have the Lands Registry, which is under the control of Permanent Secretary for Diago. They register all land transactions within the state. Before last year, when a law was promulgated for LARSERA. So any transaction that is above 5 years or that is up to 5 years has to be registered by the Lands Bureau. So it could be in form of even a lease that is beyond 5 years. It could be a deed of gift, a deed of sublease, a deed of assignment, a deed of subdivision. All of those transactions are registered at the Lands Bureau. Yeah, 3 years. Okay, Mr. Bodiago, you just corrected me. In Lagos is 3 years. 3 years. Now for LARSERA, LARSERA is interested in registering powers of attorney, which includes things like a rent, maybe a real estate transaction. I bought a property, or I want to buy a property, or I've been given a contract in the sector. This is what LARSERA is interested in. But the relationship between LARSERA and the Lands Bureau as it concerns the enterprise GIS is that we will create a platform where LARSERA will be able to verify any property that anybody wants to buy, or even if I'm given a contract to build a property,
I want to check that the person who gave me the contract actually owns the land. You know, the person shouldn't give me a power of attorney to enter into that land and then I start developing it, and at the end of the day, somebody carries me and locks me up, and then I find out that he doesn't own the property in the first place, then I become a prisoner. So with the registration that LARSERA will be carrying out, the Lands Bureau, the Office of the Surveyor General, and my office will create a very good platform on which LARSERA can ride on. Thank you.
LARSERA basically is ensuring the safety, guarantee and transparency in the market, such that when you do real estate transactions, you are sure that you are dealing with the right people. And I think it's just natural to follow up with the peers, right? Especially following the computerization of the lands cadastre, right? Now, how are you also working with LARSERA, you know, to ease the work that they do for the benefit of the person doing the transaction?
Well, I think the special advisor has answered all the questions across the board. Well, in terms of lands cadastre, what the benefit for LARSERA, first of all, will be access to information, or let me put it, easier access to information. So, in terms of land cadastre, there are various components to it. There's the survey aspect and there's the land information aspect. I'll talk about the land information aspect. So in terms of the information that will be required, so what we are doing with our portal is that we have scanned and documented all property transactions that have been registered at the Lands Bureau. We've uploaded them onto the system and we have created a database for each property in Lagos that is registered. So at the click of a button, you have access to the history of that property. If the property was registered in 1970, for example, every transaction that has taken place from 1970 to 2022, we have captured it, we have uploaded it, and we have stored it against that property. So you get, at the click of a button, you get the history of the transaction. If they've had 10 mortgages, if they've had 20 assignments, if there's been any release on it, everything is stated there and you'll see it. So they have access to this via the portal. So any agent or anybody working with LARSERA can log on to the system and do a search of our database. So those are one of the benefits from our angle in terms of the land cadastre. The acting surveyor general too can add to that in terms of their survey aspect.
See, before I do a write out to what the PS Land said, I will quickly want to say a big thank you to Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, who is ably represented by the Deputy Governor, Engineer Obafemi Hamzat, for my appointment, because I only became the acting surveyor general of Lagos State yesterday. I want to say a big thank you to Mr. Governor. By that same token, I want to greet other ESCO members here present. So kindly allow me to leverage on the existing protocols. Now, as a rider to what the PS Land said, we have in our own office, the Office of the State Surveyor General is the official surveyor to Lagos State Government. So to that extent, one of our mandates is that we have a record room, an archive that contains records of survey activities that has been undertaken in these states that dates back to the 1920s. We have in that record volumes of record that is much more than 600,000. So every one of these record plans, survey plans, have been scanned into the Momentum volume, have been scanned into the Momentum cadastre. And so, at the touch of a button, such as the will-be investor is able to access information regarding the titles that have been uploaded into that database, it is in the same manner that they will be able to have access to information of those large volume of data that has also been scanned. That is from the survey angle. with about 147 young tech startups who are focusing on property. So this is different from fintech, we call it PropTech. Now these 147 young tech startups are solving problems across the real estate value chain, right from access to land up until operations and maintenance of the property. Now with what has happened right now, with having to get data at the touch of the button, I want to know from the private sector perspective, right? How does this portend for the PropTech market? Should we leave here thinking that we're going to be having unicorns in another year or two? Over to you, Larry.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Roland. So for us at Violet Leaf, compared to how the name sounds, we're not involved in property purchase or sale in any way. We create a platform where users can access verified agents who have been verified by LARSERA, so the users can have access to their inventory. And if you allow me to take you back a few years, how do people really buy real estate in Nigeria? They had a family who they'll send money to from time to time. I mean, let's think about it. I'm sure we've all heard different types of stories of how these scenarios typically end. There's always one super story or the other. So we believe the world has changed, and the way we live our lives has changed. That's the same way people search for property has also changed. People want to just pick up their phone, meet an agent or a developer online, and execute a transaction. So for us at Violet Leaf, we believe that we should be able to have a safe ecosystem whereby people can access verified agents at all times without fear of their money getting lost. So for the future or our addition to the value chain, we will be creating a big visibility for these agents to be able to access a wider range of users, and for the users is to be able to ensure that agents are verified, people's money are safe, people can transact seamlessly without having to worry much.
Looking at the immutability of titles. Now, I don't know in the enterprise geographical information system how this is working with a lot of the people who probably be calling up the system to verify titles.
Thank you. Well, let's look at what blockchain technology is, first of all. Blockchain technology is an advanced database mechanism that allows transparent information sharing within a business network kind of thing. A blockchain database stores data in blocks that are linked together in a chain. So it is essentially a digital ledger of transactions that duplicates and distributes information across a network of computers. That's just in a nutshell. So what our own system is similar, but is more robust and more advanced than the ordinary blockchain. So our system are linked together. So it creates, it reduces silos of information from the relevant entities. So the Office of the State Surveyor General is plugged in, the Land Use and Allocation is plugged in, the Directorate of Land Services is plugged in. So there are other ministries and MDAs that are also plugged in. So we are all working from one data source. So the information we have is shared around those people. So everybody is pulling information from the same source. So those information is accurate. Those are the information we have stored on the database of properties. So any information that is pulled from Ministry of Health can be plugged into the system. Other ministries, education can be plugged into the system, the EGIS system. So any information that they are pulling is accurate. It's from one source. It's not from different people putting different information onto the source, onto the system. So the information you have is accurate across the board, and it can be leveraged on by anybody that logs onto the system from a portal, from anywhere in the world. You can do a search from the comfort of the office and carry on your transactions. So that's the benefit of what we are going to launch.
You know, so this year's theme, which we're speaking to in this session, actually talks about technology and transparency, and I'm happy that Mr. Bodiagora has clearly spelled it out, that what we're doing with the EGIS platform is to create transparency. Because you know there are two types of major types of land information system. It can be manual and it can also be digital. So we're going fully automated, because with an automated system then comes transparency. So with technology there comes transparency, because any good land information system must be transparent. And the only way we can achieve that is through full automation, which is what we are now ensuring with the Lands Bureau and also the Office of Surveyor General. Thank you.
And we'll declare the stores open. Don't forget to please go to all our stands from Sterling.
Thank you very much for coming. The Chief of Staff to the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Tayo Ayode, members of Lagos State Executive Council, particularly our host in Lagos, the SA to Mr. Governor of Housing, Mrs. Toke Benson Awulinka, and your brother, the Commissioner for Housing, Honorable Maruf Akindele Fatai, body of Permanent Secretary that are here present, especially the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Housing, Mr. Kamal Olowoshago, all our royal fathers, head of parastatals and agencies that are here, captains of industries, and of course stakeholders in the real estate and build sector, esteemed panelists, our partners and sponsors, distinguished invited guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is with pleasure that I'm here today for this year's edition of the Lagos Real Estate Marketplace Conference and Exhibition, organized by Lagos State Real Estate Regulation Authority, LARSERA. So on behalf of the Governor and Government of Lagos State, let me appreciate every one of us for demonstrating your willingness through your presence at this conference to partner with us to develop a real estate sector that will reflect the proper status of our state as the commercial and industrial nerve center of Nigeria. An exhibition was initiated as a platform for individuals and organizations operating in the real estate sector to network and address developmental issues affecting real estate business in Lagos State. The theme of this conference, the Lagos State Real Estate Emerging Markets, Mitigating Potential Risks, was adopted so that we can beam our searchlight on this sector against the background of new tactics and strategies developed by some of us with the intention of defrauding unsuspecting clients. The emerging trends and practices in this sector in the recent time calls for increased vigilance on the part of all genuine practitioners and government in view of the rate of reported cases of dubious acts by some real estate agents who are taking undue advantage of the market, which has become one of the fastest growing in Nigeria, and of course Lagos State in particular as a result of increasing population and real estate development. As a government, we owe it a duty to safeguard the investment of people who may be unaware of some unprofessional practices in the market. The need to restore public confidence in this sector led in the first instance to the establishment of the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Agency Authority, LARSERA, in order to protect citizens and investors from potential risks of the emerging market in our society. The agency has therefore defined minimum operational standards and guidelines for practitioners to abide with. The guidelines provide a comprehensive checklist for the citizens to correctly identify a competitive list of all registered individuals and organizations. This will allow our citizens to avoid doing business with unregistered real estate practitioners in the system. So the question is, we cannot build a better society when citizens are not well informed. In order to be informed, Mr. Megamond or Shosoya, I think, mentioned the agency in UK. But the truth of the matter is, when you want to buy a house anywhere in the developed nation, you talk to your lawyer. You don't go to a tout. You don't go to a monile. So the first place to go to is to go to lands and to check LARSERA website, am I dealing with a registered agent or I'm not? Because every day, people will go to the House of Assembly, the placards that an agent has rented apartments to X number of people. The question is, when we ask, did you check? They say, well, I didn't know. So this is an opportunity for us to interrogate that and make sure that we actually do know. I also listened to the GM of LARSERA, who mentioned bad behavior by some developers. I also listened to the chairman of the collapsed building, my brother, the former commissioner for fiscal planning, Mr. Ayinde, who mentioned that our morals, our values have been eroded, and that's, well, the reality is that is true. But that is why Lagos State government created LARSERA as far back, I think, in 2009, to make sure it used to be a one process. That's why Lagos State government separated approval processes and broke it down into LARSERA, so that there are two different agencies in order to monitor. So our responsibility is to make sure that we prevent those that want to hurt us. And therefore, every support must then be given to the Ministry of Fiscal Planning, LARSERA, and all their agencies. I'm happy that the GM LARSERA reported that the Ministry of Fiscal Planning, through the new commissioner, has said clearly that we cannot, as a state government, monitor all housing development in this state, and as such is seeking the help of private sector. People will have the choice of which private sector or which private company that we want to monitor on behalf of government. The GM of material testing also mentioned something that companies, he mentioned certain companies, that when they build, they do the right thing, but that indigenous company, I wanted to correct that. My grandfather's house that was built in 1847 is still standing. It was not built by JBU. It was built by indigenous contractor. And that is the truth. The reality is, like Mr. Ayinde said, the values at the time was right. People will do the right things. So it's not a question of which contractor or whatever, but it's our job to prevent those contractors, whether indigenous, whether foreign, that wants to hurt us. Risks in the real estate sector, without mentioning the violation of principles of transparency and real estate laws. This, to a greater extent, are major potential risks in this sector. And I'm happy the last panelist, the SA Special Advisor on EGIS, the Permanent Secretary, Lands and Survey General told us by 28th of this month, we'll be launching a portal that allows citizens to actually check records of properties. Now the question is, it's a two-way thing. Because I think the moderator asked a question, how soon can we get all the properties? Well, the question is, how quickly can citizens also, when you buy property, how quickly do you go to register it? Because if Mr. A sells to Mr. B and Mr. B did not register, well, government will know. Because government doesn't have any oracle anywhere. So government will probably not know. So it is important, and it has been said that the biggest challenge in Africa, not just Nigeria, in Africa, is because we don't collateralize our properties. So that man that we think is poor has some land somewhere, but there are no titles. There are no titles. So it's like if this woman, Green, that's doing AC in building car, if she's traveling, if she doesn't have a passport, it doesn't matter. She's not going to travel. We can know her. I know the House of Assembly member for Mushi. I was born in Mushi, so I know him for a long time. But I can't go to the airport and say, no, I know him. Please let him go to. No, you must have a passport. So the same thing with the property. It must be registered. 94% registration in Africa generally. In Ethiopia is 11%. In Nigeria is 21%. So until we take it to 60-70, really, we are not doing the right things. And therefore, we have assets that we cannot leverage on. So it is a fact that government through its regulatory agency, LARSERA, cannot do this alone, considering the huge real estate transactions going on in different parts of the state. Hence the need for joint monitoring of this sector to curb quackery and unlicensed operators. It is our belief that the real estate market can be the floodgate of economic prosperity to the state and stakeholders when potential risks are minimum in this sector. I think the first panelist told us that real estate is the fastest employer or the largest employer of labor. So imagine if we can quadruple that, then a lot of our children will be gainfully employed. This is to let Lagosians and everyone interested in real estate business to be aware of the challenges and to be cautious of any financial transaction they engage in without fact-checking and the track record of any organization that they are dealing with. It is important that they are starting if that individual or that organization is registered with LARSERA and other government relevant agencies. It has also been said here that before you actually move into ask for certificate of fitness, habitation fitness, so that you are sure that this property has been properly tested so that we don't buy junk properties. Therefore, so for me, I think it's important that we mention LARSERA portal. It's www.larsera, LASRERA.lagostate.gov.ng. Check it out, look at it, see what is there, use it, and then you will see that Lagos is trying to assist us to make sure that we don't deal with people who will steal our money. As I end this address, let me reassure Lagos to commence the monthly rental payment has not been jettisoned, because it's one of the things that we spoke about last year. What we've done is to look at how to make it sustainable, working again with the private sector and other stakeholders, and therefore come up with the appropriate strategy for a policy that we believe is stand the time of. So I want to congratulate the housing sector people, the Special Advisor on Housing, Commissioner for Housing, and of course the Permanent Secretary Minister of Housing for organizing this conference again and for engaging everybody here in relation to what we need to do, what we need to know. I thank all the stakeholders in the real estate sector here present for your yearly attendance at this very important gathering to deliberate on the path forward to achieving a 21st century economy in Lagos State through real estate sector. All of us that have traveled around the world knows what real estate has done for the state of Dubai. We can do the same in Lagos. I thank you very much for this.
Everyone, as you can see. Also, we want to thank our amiable governor, ably represented by the Deputy Governor, Dr. Kadiri Obafemi Hamzat, who has not only reviewed
the papers we have today, but are standing for us by answering some of the questions that should have been referred to some of us. I want to say thank you, Mr. Deputy Governor, again. The Secretary to the State Government, Mrs. Folashade Sherifa Jaji, you've been an early bird here today. I want to say thank you. The 3 chairmen of House committees that we have here, particularly my chairman, Honorable Makinde. We have also the chairman House Committee of Fiscal Planning, and my brother, chairman House Committee of Transportation, Adewale Jah. Also, I want to thank all ESCO members here. Thank you for supporting your colleague. Thank you for supporting us. We really appreciate you. Body of Permanent Secretary, thank you. Of course, I can't forget the GMs and CEOs here. I can see them well represented. Thank you. You've all been here since morning. God bless you. Also, our sponsors. Without you, this cannot happen. Also, our stakeholders. I don't want to take much of your time. The gentlemen of the press, you've been wonderful, you've been good. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not the end of the program. We're still going to have tomorrow as a good day too. You can see what happened here today, and I can assure you by tomorrow we are in for a good day too. Thank you. God bless you. And as we go around the exhibition stand, I want to say Johnny Messi is back home. Thank you.
Never, but the love is the